The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
I can truly see it. How you doing out there in Radio Land? This is D Nice. For those that are just joining us for the first time, I am a content creator. I've created shows, numerous shows, radio, television, and I'm doing more projects. But what I like to do best of all is I like to create content where I can find hosts and hostesses that really have the desire to go to that next level. I also train public speakers. I'm a part of the group called Toastmasters International. And for those that know, I now hold 3 distinguished Toastmasters certifications. So DTM 3 times for those that understand that. And so I'm giving back by producing shows where I can find somebody who has that drive, that has that fortitude, that has that charisma to be able to become a successful host or hostess. Tonight is no different on the culture of music and film. We have a friend of mine going to call in later. He's a several-time winner of a Grammy for Latin music Grammy. And he will be sharing some information with us on his struggles, his successes, and some of his music. Meantime, in between time, I'm going to introduce you Miss Jocelyn here. And Jocelyn.
Thank you.
I saw you doing another show on Opinion Room a couple weeks ago, last week. And I was really impressed by the way that you handled yourself and just were able to just sit back and, see the landscape as it appears in front of you. A lot of people need that prep time, but you were able to get right in there and flow with it. And I thought that was one of the earmarks that I look for in a good hostess. So with that being said, I talked to you to ask you some of the questions that are a requirement for me. Where do you see yourself in 2 years? What have you done? What do you want to do? Where are you at? Just to find out totally, is your dedication, commitment there? And if the passion, dedication, commitment's there, then everything else can be taught. But those things in your style, you can't teach it. You got to have it. And that's what I saw in you. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is we're going to get to meet Miss Jocelyn Green and find out a little bit more about her, and so that we can preview her, and hopefully she will be one of these that says, hey, I like this, I want to do this, and let's move forward with this. So without any further ado, let's see if we can give a little background on this young lady. So we're going to roll some footage on her in a minute. Otherwise, see, sometimes things just throw you for a loop, so we're going to go beyond that. We're going to do a little Q&A for a second to find out. Okay, tell us a little bit about you. Your dreams, aspirations, your accomplishments. Let's take it from there.
Okay, well, my name is Jocelyn. Like you said, I'm actually a native of California, Los Angeles, born and raised. Okay. I went to school locally. I graduated from Fairfax High School. I then moved on to go to Cal State Northridge, where I got my degree ultimately in African American Studies with a focus in social science. So pretty much from there, I've been working different jobs, pretty much just looking for my calling and just some place that I can make myself, a bigger piece, small piece of a bigger puzzle, and kind of just put my imprint on things. So, as far as now, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. I really love what you're doing. I love your energy. I loved being here the last time, so I'm more than welcome to be here again, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm ready to bring it and enjoy my time with you today.
Okay, so you graduated from your college, and did you tell us what your major was?
African American Studies with a focus in social science.
Okay, so people that don't understand that, okay, then African American Studies is quite intense and intriguing, and there's a lot of mystique behind that because a lot of African Americans don't even know what to call themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they've used black, Negro, colored. I mean, through the years, we've been branded with certain names, but the culture of the black or African American society is not relegated by the names that are put on them.
Exactly. But I think that's part of the charm, too.
Okay.
Because you can't put us in a box.
Okay.
So because there are so many different colors, creeds, walks of life. I mean, everywhere you go in the world, there's a brown person. So we are, in my opinion, often imitated but never duplicated.
Right.
So I think it makes us very unique. I personally, in my family, I come from every color in the rainbow. So I don't really judge based on that. I don't judge based on looks. I don't really, a lot of people's favorite question is, what are you? And I don't really like that. I mean, I don't go around asking people that. So I'm like, what am I?
Right.
But I mean, that's a lot of people's favorite question, but I like to judge people for who and what they are. I think black is beautiful. The blacker the better, in my opinion, honestly. But, to each his own. But I do think that it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes it's not appreciated or we're looked down upon by the outside or rest of the world. But I think it's a very powerful thing to find, self-power in for that.
Well, that was interesting, as you said, because you said the darker, the better for you. There was a time in history when, in the slavery part of the history, that they dissimulated between and distinguished between the light skin and the dark skin.
Yes.
And usually it was the light skin that ended up being a part of the master's upper class stable. Yeah. While the darker skinned were the ones that prolifically did the field work and the hard work and everything like that. And so that became a divide. But like I said, we know in time that passed since then, there's always been a divide. People have always tried to get a way to divide us as a people and even have us hating ourselves. There's a time to where, even now sometimes there are hair textures in our culture that make people wonder, why is my hair like this, or what can I do to straighten it, or whatever.
I hear
what I'm saying?
So.
Yeah. So let's talk a little about that. What they call the Great Divide.
Yeah, that is what you could call it, I guess, in that instance. For me as a woman, I feel like I get that a lot, that goes along with the what are you question. Right. I don't really feel like that's relevant because what does it matter what I'm mixed with that, what does that label me in that moment for standing in front of you? Probably not too much. Right. Exactly. But for most people, that's a burning question. I can see just how some people look at me sometimes that they just want to know, or they're waiting to hear what my name is or how I talk or things like that. But I think it's way too prevalent, honestly, especially for us to be hated amongst other races as much as we are. It's unfortunate that we have to battle amongst each other so much. I don't really make that part of my everyday battles. I try not to as much as, the outside world can put that upon you or impress those ideas in your head. I feel like, especially if you're on either side of the spectrum, if you're really light or really dark, I feel like people see it a certain kind of way. Or even, like brown toned people that will say, oh no, I'm not dark skinned, I'm brown. I don't really, I don't really see the difference in that. But, I guess people could say too, I'm on the lighter side of that controversy. So I might have my own different perspective on that. But I just think it's too prevalent. But I think it comes from the home, honestly, because my family, I've always seen every different color, so I never really questioned anything. I never thought anything about it. But for some people, it might be more evident, or it might be something that's just discussed more. But for me, it was never really, it wasn't an issue that I carried for myself. I always wondered why it was always such a big issue to everyone else. So
right. No, I like what you're saying on that one there. But let's delve into it a little further, because in your age bracket, which is millennial,
technically, yeah,
technically, there seems to be less pronunciation on, saying where you're at, where you're going, and more or less, I mean, as far as color and culture, and more or less how we can, close the divide. It seems like the divide right now seems to be between the boomers and the millennials. Yeah. And it takes a lot of time, I think, trying to communicate between those two. So I would feel like there's less pressure on trying to define who you are in this thing, in my light skin or my dark skin, more so than the
elder
culture of the elder generations who came, some derivatives down from slave behind it, the grandmothers or grandfathers slaves and stuff like that. So they look and call people by what they were taught to and bred to say, well, the colored or the Negro or whatever. And you sit back and wonder what the, but then it's the validity from where they're coming from. Yeah. So as we go into the next generation, are you finding that they're pretty much just basically because seems to be a technical generation. Yeah. So it seems to be that they don't care where the color line is. They care what the technological aspect is. Yeah. And what they can do in technology, either online, and everything is online. They bash online now. They communicate online. They invent online. And now doing this COVID scenario, then everybody's trying to invent
and everybody's
something new.
At home, and everybody's got time, and everybody can say what they want to say. Everybody's got an opinion now.
Exactly.
I think the big difference for that one actually is, just like you said, is technology. Just the advent of the internet and accessibility to it. I know myself, being in my generation, I was right in the break between people not having computers in the home and then it becoming a normal thing. So I think it's really just access to seeing other people, seeing what other people look like, comparing to what you look like or other people look like. And I think depending on the individual, it really just depends on your reality. Right. For me, it's very close to home for me personally, because both of my parents are from the South. Okay. So one is from Mississippi and the other one is from Tennessee. Originally born in Mississippi, but in Tennessee. For all my family that might be out here thinking I don't know my history. Okay. And I do have a picture I brought too with me of my great-great-grandparents that I have there. And me and my family, we have reunions on my father's side, actually. Shout out to the Green family. Yeah, that's my great-great-grandfather in the front there. And to your left would be Celia, which is my great-great-grandmother. So, and those are some of my other descendants back there. So those are pretty much the descendants of my father's side of the family, in which that, like, for instance, my father is the youngest of 17. Wow. And he's, I don't know what the generation before baby boomers is, but he was born in 42. Okay. So his parents, my grandfather and my grandmother, Charlie and Adeline, they were born in 1889 and 1900. Like my father's father was a sharecropper. Okay. So for me, that culture and that existence is very close to home for me and my family. So, and it's not as far gone as, and these are my, we have reunions every year. So this one was actually in Virginia. So this is something that's really important to me. I try and go to my family reunion every year. It should be, it will be in Detroit this year, and God willing, I will be there as well. So hopefully, with all this going on, I'll be able to get out there. But we do have a reunion every year. It switches cities. So, and And as you can see there's many colors, many everything. Mm-hmm. So, and that's just on one side of my father's side of the family. So we know that there's many different colors and many different variations of black and what being black is. And I just think that it's based on your own reality and how you're brought up of how much you make that a problem for yourself or even a problem for others, you know? But for me, I try not to make it an issue where it pushes me away from other people or even my people, you know? But sometimes I get pushed back, you know? But I expect that, but it comes with the territory. But I try not to live my life pushing those negative
Exactly. There's no time for that, you know what I'm saying? Because we have enough from other people.
Exactly.
And if the damage is coming on a house and it's getting you from all four walls, then basically that house before long, if it's not set on a sound foundation, it's going to fall.
Exactly.
And so as we battle between and amongst ourselves, that's catastrophic.
Yeah.
And we're still doing it. And it seems to come more from, like we were saying before, the boomers look at it one way, the millennials look at it another way, and now we have a newer generation that's like, dude, I'm just trying to get on the internet. I'm trying to get my
famous,
friends, get this.
Rich,
yeah, that's what I want to do right now. I don't have time for color codes. What my color is green.
Yeah.
And in a way, I can respect that. But then again, you got to look at the trajectory and hope that our generation of African Americans don't lose themselves in that trajectory, trying to be like everybody else, running after the money.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that this COVID situation has basically, like to say it or not, but looking at it 360, it seems to have put everybody on an even playing field.
Right.
Because I don't care what kind of money you have, whether you're broke to the curb or whether you're a millionaire, guess what? People are dying daily from it. And also, you know, there's no cure, so it's not like money can buy you, you know, your health.
I think that was a big light bulb for a lot of people.
And jobs have gone and companies are going defunct and whatever. So by the time this is through, it's going to be, man, catastrophic to everybody.
I think so too. I think bigger than a lot of people really notice, because a lot of people are still relatively comfortable, you know, but I think once people get a lot more things get taken away and people will have to humble themselves a little bit more, and people will come to terms with what's really important, but it might bring people back full circle to what matters and values and, you know, things that you can really instill in that family time and spending time with your children and, you know, just taking those extra time and moments. Because now, can you really say, like, I don't have time? Like, a lot of people have time, but even then, there's still people will still come out of this and say, I didn't have time to do it, you know? So
that's correct.
I think it's just exactly the same. It depends on your reality and how you kind of take it. Some people, you know, it's the half empty, half full type thing, you know?
Exactly,
so.
Well, you know, seeing that also we're all on the same playing field now, you know, we've been in a world that was thrown into this catalyst where it's okay to hate, okay to be, you know what I'm saying, obscure, okay to talk about other races, okay to hate other races, because, you know, what happens usually is it starts from the top and trickles down. It don't go, I mean, in this society, it doesn't go from the bottom up. We know better than that, whether it's education, whether it's finance, or whether it's the way that people do business now.
Yeah.
And not calling any scenarios, not calling any names, we know that there are people saying that even the disease is a joke.
Yeah.
That sooner or later, now when we're told that we can drink drink alcohol or bleach or something like that and cleanse our system, then there's truly something wrong with that message.
Yeah, I was like, FYI, you cannot drink bleach. It will not make you better. It will not cure you.
You know what I'm saying? We got to let it be known for those that try stupid stuff. Yeah,
that's why I was like, let's not make any assumptions that people don't think they can do that. So.
Exactly. You know, and then saying that really it's going to dissipate by itself and just, you know, saying don't worry about it, business as usual. Yeah. When, you know, we know the truth that only maybe 10%, I want to say 1%, but if I check the files, I'll give 10%. 10% of the nation has been tested.
Right, only 10%.
Only 10%. That's a whole lot of folk out there.
Been talking about we've been testing, and it's like, so 10%.
Exactly. So that's what I'm talking about. So you don't know who basically is rolling with it, and so you're going back into business as usual.
Right, or trying to.
Yeah. And so by the time we turn around, then what happens? I mean, we got a shock when we started seeing that some of us experience friends of ours or older family members that are in the nursing homes. And it's hit the nursing homes so crazily. And you would think the people that are there that are trained to care for other people and have somewhat of a surgical, you know what I'm saying, mentality, that they'd want to keep the place clean, yet and still it's astronomically running rampant through our, you know what I'm saying, elders in nursing homes. Now, when you can't trust a nursing home to keep your family safe, then there's something wrong with that picture.
But see, I feel like that just goes back to society too, because it depends on how much respect you give to elders, because I think that's a relative problem. That's only two people that may have a family member in there or someone working in there.
Right.
Other than that, I think it's just kind of get brushed under the rug until now it comes out that 100 some odd convalescent homes are, you know, is running rampant with COVID, but they don't know why. But clearly there's infrastructure things like you said, if they were keeping things clean or doing things like they're supposed to, it shouldn't be that big of an issue. But
yeah, but attorneys are making money off of that because, like I said, there's a lot of lawsuits behind it. You have people in there that have been mistreated. There's a lot of them in there that are having venereal diseases. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the nursing homes. I mean, like, what the, you know what I'm saying? And so
I wish I would find out my granny is out here. I'd be like, now wait a minute.
You know, they said that
and that's a shame. That's sick too, because some of those people are more alert, and some of those people. It's like, come on, like, you need to go, people like that, they need to be persecuted and put in jail. Those are the kind of things I see on Law and Order and SVU and all that other stuff, But
beside that craziness, they are sexually active. It just goes. It's already in the results that them old folks are just kicking it off,
right? And they're passing out the corona,
exactly, right between each other. I mean, it ain't got nothing to do with the outside. That happens sometimes,
and that's what you think too. They don't even let them out. Yeah, so where did it come from?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really crazy to think that to divide and conquer is not happening today in subliminal ways, in color restraints. It doesn't matter. It does. It's all coming back. It's subliminally coming back. And they did say the South will rise again one day. And so I think they're trying to make it a society to where, we self-destruct. And if you are your worst enemy, then how can you join together and go forward in any kind of motion forward if you're fighting among each other? Exactly. And their whole thing, even since the old days of slavery, you know what I'm saying? Then it was a divide and conquer situation. Put the light skins against the dark skins, put them in the house against the outside, and just keep that disruption. Even today, even in the prison systems, it's been notated that they keep it going between the blacks and the browns because there is the might, there is the numbers in the blacks and the browns. So these are all technicalities that they say are technicalities, but it's realities. Yeah. It's straight up. They know how to push buttons. And if we allow them to push our buttons or define us or tell us what we are, and we really don't know about our history, and we get to accept what they put on us, labels, then who can we blame for our downfall? Yeah.
But I think, too, that has to do with, like, the justice system. It's a multi-level reason why there's so many blacks and browns incarcerated. So, as nice as it would sound to say, oh, it will disappear, it will go away, or peace, kumbaya,
right.
Whatever. I don't think it would ever get to that, but the system is also set up for it to be like that too, because I think any human being, because there's overcrowding, there's lack of resources in there.
Yep.
So I think if you put any individual, no matter what the race, they'll turn on anyone. If you put people in animalistic situations, they're going to behave that way. So I think that's what's happening now.
Right.
And I mean, I've heard that they were supposed to be releasing a lot of nonviolent offenders because of COVID. And have you seen the videos online of inmates like videotaping and broadcasting live from inside? They have them in there. They're like what is the word? I'm like, they're raiding everything and destroying the jails, and they're in there going live saying how much resources they're not getting, and that they have people in cells next to people that they know are sick, and people can't get out. So, and some people are saying, hey, there was one guy, he was saying he's supposed to be released in 6 months. So he was trying to get released early because of COVID, but they were telling him no, he couldn't. And he was in a cell with a guy that he says had it. That was like on his last leg,
Right.
And he was worried about getting sick also, but he was like, they're just not giving us resources. And I'm like, if people in jail are going so far as to get on their cell phones that they're not even supposed to have in the first place,
that's the point.
Broadcasting live for help and putting signs in windows,
right.
like somebody needs to do something. And you can't tell me nobody knows about it,
How'd they get the phones?
Right.
It ain't like AT&T's got, that's what I'm saying. They like AT&T is in the building, like, hey, got the phones. So, there are things in place, instruments in place, subliminally and, constructually to start chaos. And so what happens is your family members are like, and they're going to, the courts, you know what I'm saying? And the courts are saying, what can we do? Okay, we'll release some. Okay, we're bad. Okay, we'll release some to the public.
Right. Well, the courts are closed now, so you can't even do that. Yeah, so they can't even do that.
But the ones that they were trying to let back out that are nonviolent, you know what? It's a controlled environment that sparks an uncontrolled response. So if you throw somebody who's non-animalistic into a place where animals preside, then you either
they're bound to adapt.
Live by the sword or you die by the sword.
Survival
You learn to.
fittest.
That's exactly correct. So how are you going to tell me if somebody's in there just trying to survive, walking in the front door because of the different amenities that are there, and the sharks that are there, then they're nonviolent. Okay, if they raise to a survival mode, there's some violence in there. So now you had that mentality. So the first time you get out, nonviolent, and somebody says something you don't like, and you take off, or they take off on you or whatever.
Right.
Then
now you're violent.
That's exactly correct. But it's a learned response.
Yeah.
And so the kids today are getting learned response. So if they're seeing what happens from the government and they're seeing the school shut down and they're working from home because of this COVID, and then they're not that stupid. And they're hearing somebody at the top saying, oh, well, this isn't really something to really worry about.
Right.
It will pass and, we're all good. And, I know they've got to be, we've, as parents and caretakers, we've got to be responsible enough to let them know, look, this is the facts and this is the fiction.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we don't. Do you know how appreciative people have become to teachers nowadays? I don't think we'll ever see another teacher strike that lasts over a couple days.
When school starts back, parents will probably be in there kissing teachers and walking right up to them,
praising them. That's exactly. Yeah, my daughter's a teacher.
Yeah, they're ready to go back.
It's crazy because it's a learned response. And them kids are at home. I'm telling you, man, there's nothing like caging people up to see the real them. Right. Because there's a lot of domestic violence going on now at the homes.
It's up at the numbers are up.
Yeah, yes. And then, like I said, child abuse, because they finally realize that their children have got some learned responses. They got some craziness in them.
Imitating the apple is not falling far from the tree, and they're figuring that out.
And what they see on when they see on the internet, and what they
they're saying, "Oh, this is what the teacher was talking about when she said you were acting up." And I said, "What do you mean?"
Yeah,
now
exactly.
They know why.
That's exactly.
Now they know exactly how they're acting,
and they want to kill the kids. You know what I'm saying? It's a trip because you're caged up and you're dealing with the responses and non-responsives and everything. So, will it get any better? That's to be seen.
Yeah.
Will the United States be the superpower that it's supposed to have been? That needs to be seen.
I doubt it, but
because right now, like I said, it seems like we've been in business mode for the last 4 years. We've been in business mode. It's like, okay, where can we go and spend some money and get some results from our money? And how can I grow my business? And how can I get my name out there? And that's not the way that the government's been run in times past.
Right.
A
publicity stunt.
Yeah, you got levels in the government. And, when you've got the one at the top to talk to the houses there, and then they've got the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which deals with the military, and when you can supersede and override everyone and everything and say, okay, this is what I want to do, and if you don't like it, you know what, I'm going to take a pen to paper, which is going to allow me to oversee and supersede what you said that you didn't want to see done, and I'm going to make it done. Now, we've lost that because the separation between church and state here has always been apparent. So now we got somebody saying, okay, you're opening up essential businesses, now open up all the churches. And if you don't do it, I'm going to supersede you and make you open up all the churches. And it's like, okay, the churches. In the
name of the Lord.
Yeah, okay. But there have been plenty of conquests and battles in the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where the early conquistadors or the early conflicts and things like that came from. Everybody in the religious mode is trying to get their religion over to everybody else. And if you don't follow my religion, I'm killing you.
Right.
And that's just the way it was. Even if we want to go a little more deeper, even those that believe in the Bible, one of the prolific writers of more chapters in the book than anywhere else, he was killing people that said they loved that were Christians. That was his job.
He's like, hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Fine print.
Yeah,
you weren't supposed to remember all that.
You know what I'm saying? And then suddenly it's like, okay, he had an apparition. Suddenly he got his mind back, and suddenly he wrote books to try to bring people into the religion of the people he was killing and tormenting. So it's like, okay, there can be a light at the end of a tunnel.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that. So where's the light at the end of the tunnel now? Unless we get a hold of these young people now that are our kids and our kids' kids and let them see, look, you can't go by what you do what I say, not do what I do. We've got to be an example.
Yeah.
Because believe me, they're sitting there trying to look at the example and watching what you say and what you do, and they're taking their little, copious notes
Kids
or whatever.
Are smarter than ever.
Yes, they are, and putting out their little videotapes or whatever, and they're just, and so the whole thing is promiscuity and everything is just running rampant. These kids are with something they don't have responsibility on how to use, like giving them some dynamite and not telling them what not to do.
Firecrackers.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, here you go, kid. You know what I'm saying? You know how firecrackers sound real loud? Here, this is a matches.
I'm anticipating what the 4th of July is going to be like with everybody at home. I'm like, you know what? This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of illegal fireworks running around. That's what it's going to be. Unless
That's exactly
they bust houses all day long. We just confiscated 5,000 pounds of firecrackers. Yeah, what about the other 50,000 that's still coming in?
They already got them coming in, or they already letting them off somewhere by the freeway.
Yeah, because money's going to continue to flow, whether it's clean money or unclean money. You know what I'm saying? That's how
people have been making money since the beginning of time. This is not going to stop anything.
It ain't going to stop. But the COVID but I think that's irresponsible to say, okay, well, we're going to just go ahead and you can go to the beach, you can go and eat at a restaurant, whatever. Now, you don't know who there has not been tested. They're serving your food.
And I thought about that too, because I can't wait to go out to eat. That's the one thing I've been missing. I wanted. I didn't realize how much I took it for granted.
Right.
But I thought about it. I'm like, I'd have to disinfect my utensils, my cup, my everything, or it will be everyone bringing their own everything. And then I'm kind of like, well, what's the point in even going out to eat? I'm going to bring my own entire place setting, and then what, you just give me the food? And then how do I know that the person back there didn't cough on this or something? Because people already, to me, barely wash their hands to begin with, which is what I think part of the problem is, and why this spreads so fast anyway, is because people are nasty and they don't wash their hands.
Yeah.
So now, I've seen it too. So
Mm.
now I'm like, what is life going to be like going out to eat? Will there even ever be any more buffets? What will that even consist of? Like going back to school. They were saying with school, they're going to let them go back in waves. Like start every kid and you'll
Right.
stay with the same teacher and that they'll stay with the same group of kids.
Right.
They won't switch out. So I was like, that's going to change a lot for their development.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate. I think for the kids specifically, either some kids will come out shining,
Right.
depending on the kids that got that support at home and things like that.
Exactly.
This will really show, unfortunately, at the child's benefit or lack thereof of how much their parents, put into them during this time where they were at home. So I think at the end you'll see that it'll be a clear, black and white or gray area, because then what are they going to do with all those kids that are at different learning paces and schedules? And some kids have surpassed and some kids will be bored and others will be confused, I think it'll just be a tough time readjusting, especially for kids, because they don't know one thing from the next anyway, As adults, we know, okay, what's to come or what's kind of to what expect. And I couldn't imagine explaining this to a kid now. Luckily, I don't have any of my own that I have to explain to, but I could just imagine, even getting a kid to wear a mask or washing their hands. Like, you can't get a kid to keep their clothes on as it is or their shoes and stuff. And now you got to get them to wear a mask everywhere and, not touch their eyes. And I just couldn't imagine. That's a whole nother headache on top of having kids. That's something else on top of it too. So, and now you got to teach them. So I could just imagine what parents are going through. So parents, my heart goes out to you. You guys are doing a great job. Very difficult, but it's much needed. The children need you, and they're here. So teach them well.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. That's what happened. Teach them well, but if we don't know, how can we teach something we don't know?
Right.
And it seems that the younger generation that have had the kids really don't know how to discipline them or how to nurture them, because they've got so many outside influences that you can't block off. I mean, they get on the internet and they can find anything they want to, see anything they want to.
You're like, don't watch that. They're like, all right, gotcha. As soon as you fall asleep,
exactly,
I'm watching it.
It doesn't make any sense. So it's like you're fighting a losing battle, parents. And I mean, my heart goes out to you, because I have no babies, but I have a grandson. And
he's still a big boy, though.
Yeah. At 11, turning 11 next month, he still knows what he's doing and what's going on. So, and it's a scary thing, because you can't hide anything from these kids today, because they would check you like a library book. You know what I'm saying? They would do you that. They would do you that. So it is our responsibility as guardians in some ways. See, I'm a grandfather. So if I can't get it from my daughter being able to stay on it, then I got to do it from a perspective of the male part as a grandfather, to make sure that he has what he needs, and oftentimes what he wants, depending on my regular mode. Okay, to see if I want to do something for him. Okay, and if he's acting a fool, I'll tell him that he ain't got nothing coming. But if he is doing what he's supposed to and in line of what he's supposed to, I'm cool with that. So, parents and grandparents, like I said, I really do sympathize for us right now with this stay-at-home order and the kids having to learn. And for the parents that didn't learn anything, trying to teach the kids, man, good luck with that.
Better luck next year.
There's places like Khan Academy and some places like that, parents, that you can go into, and they have classes, and you can, at nighttime when the kid's not around you, brush up on your algebra and calculus, whatever, and then act like you're a genius. So there's ways to do it, parents. Khan Academy is one, and they've got other ones. Just search out there and get your information together, so that you're able to instruct the kids. But I told you I had a surprise for you, because I have a Grammy Award winning several times over friend of mine who has lit the world up with Latin jazz. And that's a smooth sound. When we go out there to dance or whatever, anytime you see that and you hear that, man, it makes you get up and get down.
Mm-hmm. Can't stay in your seat.
No, you can't. And my man here, I met this guy, and man, he's been like my brother. You know what I'm saying? And he is our hardest working man in show business. There's no game because he's got New York on point and he's got L.A. on point. He's now in L.A., and we're going to follow up and see what's going on with him. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest for today, Mr. Oscar Hernandez. Oscar, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Daryl? I'm doing great, brother. Thank you for inviting me and sharing a little time with your listeners. And it's my pleasure just hanging with you for a little bit here.
Man, Oscar, you know what? You light up the places wherever you're at, man. I got a chance to see you. I saw the videos that you sent me, but I had a chance to see you in concert not too long ago before this whole shutdown began. And, man, you rocked it, man. I mean, that the band is tight. Everything in there is tight, man. And not only are you a prolific keyboardist, but as a producer, as a conductor, man, I'm telling you, dude. So let's go back a little bit, man, and go back, because we've been talking about kids and raising kids and the whole route that we took to get somewhere. Let's go back a little bit in your lifetime, man, and just walk it through, man. How'd you get started? What was your inspirations? Where'd you grow up? And let's do it like that and get a little bit more information first off about Mr. Oscar Hernandez.
I appreciate that. Well, I grew up in the South Bronx, New York City, from a family of 11. I'm number 10 of 11 kids, same mother and father. And I grew up during the cultural revolution of Latinos in the city of New York in the 60s and 70s. And music was a huge part of that cultural revolution that was happening in those days. And literally there were easily 40, 50 clubs with live music, almost on a daily basis in the city of New York. It was pretty an amazing time for music. Mm-hmm. And the music that I grew up with, I was listening to from every other door, every other window in my neighborhood, in my building, in my neighborhood, and where I grew up. So I caught the bug early on. I started playing trumpet at the local boys club, where we paid 50 cents a month to be a member back in the day. And I spent 2 years on the trumpet, and then somebody gave me a piano. God knows if they didn't give me that piano, maybe I would never be playing that instrument. But I started playing with local neighborhood musicians at 14 and 15 and 16. I started to play professionally. I was starting to make a living. At 18, I was playing with one of the top salsa bands in New York City, and we were starting to travel. And I tell people that the education that I got at 16, 17, 18, 19, into my early 20s, from all the incredible musicians that I got to play with, on almost a daily and weekly basis, you couldn't pay for in the best university. So it was, and at that time, to make an analogy, I guess what was happening in Motown was happening on the Latin side with Fania Records. And they were producing so much music, that it's pretty prolific, the amount of music that they produced. So I was part of that scene, and I became a young buck piano player, starting to play with the local neighborhood bands, with the young professional bands that were playing, and started to play with some really great people early on in my life. And my early 20s, I got to play with Tito Puente. I got to play with Machito, the great Machito. I got to play with Celia Cruz. Then went and recorded 6 records with Ray Barretto, Mongo Santa Maria, a lot of people that were part of the important legacy of this music. And I had a pretty great career for many years doing that and being as a sideman, arranger, producer, starting to get my name as a producer. And close to 20 years ago, I formed Spanish Harlem Orchestra, and it's been my big thing. It's been my mission in life because I'm keeping that music alive, traveling all over the world with that band, and it's known as one of the best bands in the world, I say, of any kind of music, but certainly of Latin and Latin jazz. It's one of the best bands. We've won 3 Grammys. We've been nominated 6 times, so really proud of what we've accomplished. and just put out a new record 3 days ago that's already starting to garner pretty great critical acclaim. And it's our first time putting our foot forward with the entire genre of Latin jazz. It's called Spanish Harlem Orchestra, the Latin Jazz Project, on RCA Records. And it's pretty cool. It's a great record. I feel that we're, again, carrying the legacy of this music and being recognized as some of the best at what we do. So I'm blessed, bro. What can I tell you?
Yeah, and you blessing us, man, because like I said, man, the music is popping. It's hot. The projects, man, that you just dropped, man, I was like, man, dude, you can't contain yourself. But see, it has become a challenge. I'm sure it's just kind of like has you gnawing at the bit with this COVID situation, man. You can't go out there and blow up the clubs. You can't go back out there and do the concert scenes, man, because God knows we need you in filling that void. But, hey, you got to do what you do. So you turned out some good music, man. And being a three-time Grammy winner, man, puts that signature, man, that we knew when we heard the music that it was popping, man. But it was good that they were able to recognize because, they got categories out there, and you got a lot of people in that category, man. So for you to rise, that's good. And for you to have started so young, man, to be that young and be able to be a part of a foundation of music, man, dude, it's deep, man. And I like it. I'm even wearing my Harlem shirt tonight, man, to represent, you know what I'm saying? my Harlem sweat, man, So it is good to be able to know that there's somebody out there that is not in it for the money, man. You know what I'm saying? Because they got a lot of cats, man, and one-hitter quitters, man. Come out with something and then they're like, okay, where's the paycheck? You have a love for what you do, and you can see it in the passion, the way you play, the way you conduct it, the way you produce, man. And I went and saw the concert, man. I'm telling you, man, I just was like, wow. Because you transformed us into a different environment, took us to a different place.
Well, thank you, man. And you know what? What's amazing to me, Daryl, is that's the reaction we get every single time we perform with Spanish Harlem Orchestra, man. It's kind of amazing because people come up to me. I'm there signing CDs and selling CDs at the end of the show. Oftentimes, mostly performing arts centers. And people say, hey, man, this was some of the best music I've ever heard. And you could tell that people are being touched by the music. So for me, it's never been about the money. We make money. I make money from this, and, it's a living. But I spend it. So it's not about the money. I make the money, and it goes. It's about the effect that we're having on people, with the art form of this music. And it is dance music, I got to say, but it's a lot more than just dance music. On the level that we're doing it, it is an art form, and I'm proud to put that on world stages. We played about every major jazz festival there is. We're playing concert halls, and people are sitting in their seats and listening to the expertise of the band. And my musicians, who are some of the best in the world, I couldn't do it alone. These guys are some of the best, and it's proof of the pudding, man. If you guys, the new CD will be available on download. If you purchase the CD, it's available now, but it will be available on Monday, a week from today.
Okay.
And you got the single, you're playing it now, so yeah, it's been just an incredible ride for close to 20 years now with this band, and the new record. Also, I got to say, the new record features some of the great jazz players of this world, man. It features Kurt Elling on vocals, Bob Minster on sax, Dave Liebman on sax, Miguel Zenon on sax, Tom Harrell on trumpet, Joe Locke on vibes, Bobby Franceschini, a lot of great players that have decided to say, yeah, we want to be part of this record. I'm just blown away, man, and you're hearing a part of it now.
I'm blown away. Let me ask you a quick question, Oscar. Where do you see yourself in 2 years?
Man, people ask me, well, what do you see in the future? I say, doing what I'm doing, just more of it.
Okay.
So
that's it.
The truth is, what I'm doing is, I love what I'm doing. And we're doing it, we're in a good place. But I still feel we're still turning people on to the music. We're still educating people as to who we are. We're still educating people to the importance and the history of this music.
Right.
It didn't start with me.
Right.
I got to play with all those bad people that I'm talking about. They're some of the best. So I'm protecting that legacy
right.
and putting it out there on the pedestal I feel it merits to be on there because it's great music. And, jazz, it's the same thing with jazz. It's no different with jazz. It deserves to be on the pedestal when you got great players, and they deserve to be supported. The music deserves to be supported. So I feel that's my passion, and that's my commitment. And truthfully, I'm demonstrating my commitment by putting my record out now during COVID-19 pandemic. I don't care. Nothing's going to stop me. So my commitment is to the people who are supporters of this music, who are passionate about good music. And thank God for those people who go beyond the commercial BS that we're fed and find good music, man, because that's where they'll find us.
Right. I got you, man, because like I said, I've seen the growth, man, in the music, and I've seen what you're doing as a niche, and it's been demonstrated, man, with the Grammys you got. So let me ask you something. If there's an artist out there, a musician out there that's trying to break in, trying to find a way, to stay alive or stay out there during this COVID, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say, the one thing you need to have is perseverance and stick-to-itiveness, because these are tough times, and even if this wasn't happening, they're tough times in general for this music. So you need to really go out there, stick to it, network yourself as much. First of all, educate yourself, learn as much as you can about whatever it is you love in terms of the music. Mm-hmm. And then network yourself out there, man. Get yourself in as many situations that involve music. And before you know it, a few of them don't click. Bam, one click is like, yeah. And before you know it, from that one click comes another click. And before you know it, you will have developed some type of a work environment for yourself, and eventually a career, because that's what happened to me. So it's not easy. It's not going to be all piece of cake. Sometimes it's very frustrating, man. Mm. But if you accept that as part of the game, and okay, well, cool, next. And I always say, I plant seeds, bro. I really do. I plant the seed, not knowing what's going to happen. And when I least suspect it, one of those seeds goes bang. And I just look up and I say, thank you.
Yeah.
So, and I do it with the right intentions, man. I don't have an intentions of, I do it with a lot of integrity, a lot of love. And I think you have to have that, the right attitude about it. Because it's not easy. But, what I'm saying, life could get you down, man. So it's easy to really get down and see yourself, with the failures that you might be experiencing. Mm-hmm. But don't judge yourself by that, man. Everybody fails.
Right. I got you.
Keep getting up and keep doing what you need to do, and things will start to work.
That's words to live by. Now, if somebody wants to connect with you, man, give us how they can connect and get this CD and everything else. Talk about it right quick.
Well, the CD's on Artist Share Records. That's one word, Artist Share. You can go to artistshare.com, Spanish Harlem Orchestra, the Latin Jazz Project. You can also go to SpanishHarlemOrchestra.com, although the CD is not available there yet, but it'll be there in about a week's time. Mm-hmm. Also, you can go to my music, OscarHernandezMusic.com is my name in music. Mm-hmm. Has my 2 solo CDs as well that I'm really proud of. That's different from Spanish Harlem Orchestra. It's a smaller group. It's a quintet. It's a Latin jazz genre with some great musicians from L.A. My band from New York is Spanish Harlem Orchestra. From L.A. is called Oscar Hernandez and Alma Libre. You can find it on my website. But yeah, and we couldn't do this without people supporting it, man. If we as people don't realize that we need to support certain things, if not, we're not going to have them. I sound like PBS, but
yeah, I got you.
It's the truth, man.
No, you're right, man. So, like I said, we're going to support you. Like I said, our place is your place, man, and we look forward now in L.A. when you get a chance, man, to come in the studio, man, and rap with us, man, and just play the music and do an Oscar Hernandez takeover, man. That'd be monster. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, brother, it would be my pleasure, and I thank you guys for giving me the light, and giving people the light to make a statement about what's important, what we feel is important. So kudos to you and everybody there that does such a great job with, educating the community and your passion is evident. So I salute you and thank you, man. I really appreciate it, and I will keep you posted, and you can keep people posted, and I'd love to be on. So let me know.
I appreciate you, man. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was Oscar Hernandez, and he's got a newest out, Oscar Hernandez Orchestra, and also the Spanish Harlem Orchestra. Right now, I'd like to thank my hostess that came on tonight, Ms. Jocelyn, and hopefully people got something out of the background you were talking about, and hopefully you'll join us again on the show.
I would love to.
Okay. Meantime, in between time, I am D Nice, and for those that know me, I say each and every week, put God first, and everything else will follow. I guarantee it. And I'm leaving you now with some more Oscar Hernandez. Enjoy it. We out.